Welcome to Make Your Mark, the podcast where we talk about real weight loss journeys, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. I'm Mark Fearon, and after 16 years, 10 stone, and a lot of lessons, I finally made my mark. This podcast is all about real people sharing their stories. No filters, no gimmicks, just honesty. Whether you're using medication, hitting the gym, counting calories, or just trying to figure it all out, you are in the right place. Welcome back to Make Your Mark. This week, I'm kicking things off by diving into what I genuinely believe is the biggest Mounjaro myth going right now. It's something I keep seeing and hearing, and I think it's time we actually unpack it properly. I then take a look at an article featuring Oprah Winfrey and her experience using weight loss medication. It's been talked about everywhere, but I want to share my take on what she said and why I think it matters. After that, I'm joined by this week's guest, Paul. Paul has been on his own weight loss medication journey for some time and moved over to Wegovy 4 months ago. I can't wait to hear how he's been finding it, what surprised him, and what the reality has been like for him so far. And to finish the episode, we listened to a video by Dr. Rishi Kirwan over on Instagram, where he talks about the truth behind ultra-processed food. I wasn't expecting his take at all, but after listening, it completely clicked and it gave me a lot to think about. So let's get into it. This is episode 5 of Make Your Mark. To start things off, I want to talk about the biggest myth I hear about GLP-1 medications like Mounjaro. And that is muscle loss. Because if you spend any time online, you will see people saying things like, those injections melt muscle, you'll end up being skinny fat, you'll lose muscle instead of fat. And I want to be very clear. The medication does not cause muscle loss. Muscle loss comes from the rapid weight loss when your body is not given a reason to keep muscle. That has always been true, long before GLP-1s ever existed. If someone loses weight very quickly through extreme calorie restriction, crash dieting, or bariatric surgery, and they do not lift weights or eat enough protein, they will lose muscle. The exact same amount of muscle. No more, no less. This is not a medication problem, it's a behavior problem. GLP-1s reduce appetite. That's it. They do not tell your body to burn muscle. They do not override biology. And they do not decide what tissue your body keeps. Your body is efficient. It keeps what you use and it lets go of what you do not. If you're eating less and doing nothing, your body adapts. It says, we do not need this muscle. It is expensive to maintain, and that's the signal. Now, I'm going to make this personal for a second in that I'm on Mounjaro, I've lost weight, and I have not lost muscle. In fact, I've built muscle while losing fat. And why? Because I lift weights consistently. I prioritize protein. I give my body a clear signal that muscle is required. Strength training is not optional during weight loss. It's communication. It tells your body, we need this, keep this. And this matters even more in GLP-1s, not less. Because when appetite drops, intention has to rise. You do not need to train like a bodybuilder. You do not need to go to the gym every day, but you do need to do resistance training. And you do need adequate protein. If you do those two things, muscle loss is not a certainty. It's avoidable. So when someone says GLP-1s cause muscle loss, what they're really saying is people are losing weight without strength training or fueling properly. This would happen with or without medication. So no, muscle loss is not a GLP-1 side effect. It is feedback. A reminder that movement, strength, and protein matter more now, not less. And if you get those things right, these medications can be an incredibly powerful tool, not just for weight loss, but for body composition and long-term health. And it's an important one to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense online about Mounjaro and every other weight loss medication. There's a lot of fear mongering, a lot of information that is just completely incorrect. But this, I think, is probably the biggest one. You will always hear it. Oh, you'll take Mounjaro, you'll lose all your muscle. Mounjaro makes you lose your muscle. Wegovy, you'll lose your muscle. Ozempic, you'll lose your muscle. It's not true. Weight loss medications have no direct link to muscle loss at all. Your behavior on them does. So it's up to you. But if you go, and some people mightn't enjoy going to the gym. That's okay. At home, you can do kind of a home workout, do press-ups, sit-ups, some kind of thing that is just getting your muscles moving. But any type of movement, getting out walking is working your muscles. But being sedentary and doing nothing will lead to muscle loss. You need your body to be using it to know it should keep it. And then hand in hand with that, you've got to ensure you keep your protein high. For me, I'm on around 200 grams of protein a day. You want to be aiming for about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of goal body weight. I'm pretty much in around 100 kg at the moment, so that means I have 200 grams of protein daily, and I've done that throughout the journey, and that is why I have gained muscle whilst I've been dropping large amounts of fat. It can be done. I'm proof it can be done. I'm no different to anybody else, and I'm strongly of the belief that exercise actually makes very little to no difference on the scales each week. It is down to what you eat. Exercise has a million benefits, but for me, it has never been on the scales. It has always been how good I feel, how motivated I will be that week, which I suppose indirectly has an impact on the scales. But if I do a week where I do no exercise and I eat the same, the result on the scales will be the same. But I do find I'm more likely to eat well if I have been to the gym or done some other exercise, a walk, a hike. I think it keeps you motivated. So yeah, look, that's one of the biggest myths going, I think. There's plenty of them, but I think that is the biggest. And I think it's one that might keep people away from these medications who need them, who could massively benefit from it. But they hear this, oh, if you want it, you're going to lose all your muscle. It's not true. And I think the more we talk about it, people will realize that. And if weight loss medication is the route for them, that they won't be scared of giving it a go. So I want to talk about an article I read this week about Oprah Winfrey and her experience with weight loss medication, because honestly, it made me stop and think. In the article, Oprah talks about the amount of shame she's carried around her weight over the years. And this is someone who's had every diet, every expert, every resource you could imagine, yet she still felt like she couldn't control her weight on her own. Then that was somehow a personal failure. She spoke about how even when weight loss medications became more widely talked about, she resisted them. Not because they didn't work, but because of what they represented. She felt like taking medication meant she failed at willpower, like she was cheating somehow. What really stood out was when she talked about coming off the medication. The weight started to come back, and straight away that old shame kicked in again. That voice telling her she'd messed up, that she should have been able to keep it off, and that it was her fault. And I think so many people listening will recognise that cycle. Lose weight, regain it, blame yourself, over and over again. Where her perspective really shifted was when she started to see obesity as a chronic condition rather than a character flaw. Once she reframed it like that, medication stopped being this thing she had to hide or justify. It became a tool, not a magic fix, just one part of managing her health long term. Now, here's the bit that really landed with me. If Oprah Winfrey can feel that level of shame about her weight, then this clearly isn't about individual discipline. This is about the story we've been sold for decades, that weight is purely about effort, that if you're struggling, you're just not trying hard enough. And weight loss medication completely messes with that narrative because it works. And that makes people feel uncomfortable. Because if biology plays a bigger role than we like to admit, then a lot of judgment suddenly falls apart. I also really respected the fact that she didn't dress it up. She didn't pretend medication fixed everything forever. She openly said stopping it had consequences and that managing weight might be something ongoing, not a problem you solve once and move on from. And I think that's where people push back. We love the idea of a finish line. We love the idea that one day you're done. But for a lot of people, especially those dealing with hormones, metabolism, or long-term weight struggles, that's just not realistic. For me, this whole conversation comes back to shame. Because shame keeps people quiet. It stops people asking questions. It makes people feel like they have to suffer in silence to prove they're worthy of support. Using medication doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you didn't put the work in, and it definitely doesn't mean you took an easy route. You still have to show up. You still have to make changes. You're just not doing it on a hard mode for the sake of other people's opinions. I don't think Oprah Winfrey's story is about convincing people to take medication. I think it's about giving people permission to stop beating themselves up, to stop carrying this idea that their body is a moral failing. And honestly, that might be the most powerful part of it. I think anybody who is on weight loss medications at the moment will have heard this interview. Probably if they're on social media, it has been everywhere. And for me, it's so refreshing to hear somebody talk about it like that, because again, there are so many people that still do not get it, that are stuck in this, oh, just exercise, move more, eat less, and that's all you need to do. But for Oprah and for many of us, including myself, I needed this medication. I've been waiting for this medication to come along. It's been that magic fix for me. Um, and again, I suppose I'm in an unknown area now, because I'm at a level where my weight is at a point where I'm happy. And do I come off the medication? Do I stay on it? I've always been of the opinion that I want to come off it. And I am going to attempt to down the line, not today, not tomorrow, just to see how I manage it. But if it turned out that I needed to go back onto this medication, so be it. I mean, I feel great on it. The only part I have a problem with is the price, so, because it's expensive. But in saying that, the price, if I look at the amount of food I'm buying now in comparison, and not buying takeaways and tubs of Ben and Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs, if I add that all up, yes, it is expensive, but I'm saving also huge amounts. So, maybe that argument will be gone a bit for me. And I think it's so important, again, what Oprah's saying is heard by many, because there are still, so many people that will just be of the opinion, just eat less and move more, and that's it. It's as easy as that. It sounds easy, but for so many of us, people who've been really struggling with their weight through the years, it is not as simple as that. And like Oprah hit on, it's not a magic fix. It's not you take it and off you go. There are things you have to do alongside it to make sure you get the best from it and to get long-term benefits. That was just a really nice interview with Oprah. If you haven't heard it, I would strongly recommend going online and do a quick search for Oprah and Mounjaro, and you will get the video up. It's definitely worth the watch. It is time to welcome this week's guest, Paul, and I am looking forward to chatting to Paul. Again, I know Paul just through seeing his social media posts, and they caught my eye because he's a real person. He's just says it how it is. He's just documenting what works for him, what doesn't. And I think he's the type of person that people listen to, because again, there's no clickbaity videos. There's no, like some people you feel when they're posting online might be in it for, just the views and kind of stuff like that. Whereas Paul, I truly believe he is excited about where he's going with his weight loss medication journey. And he's excited just to pass on to others how he's doing it. So he's just a really genuine guy, and I'm looking forward to this chat. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Good, Mark. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. And I believe your first podcast, isn't that correct?
Very first podcast. Yes.
I am honoured, absolutely honoured.
I'm excited and nervous.
Me too. No, you'll be great. I said, just for anybody who's watching who doesn't know Paul from a social media case, that's how I came across Paul, was through Instagram and TikTok, and just loving watching his journey, especially over the past few months. And yeah, it's been absolutely great. So that's why, Paul, I just thought you'd be a really good person to have on here for people who are on this journey themselves and kind of maybe struggling with it, because I know you hear from people that do struggle at times. Yeah. And then for people who maybe look at all the negativity, and there is lots of it online. Yeah. So I just think it's good to have people who are having success with it to come on and have a chat. Yeah. I suppose to start off with, it's to find out what actually brought you to the stage of where a weight loss medication was something that you think you needed.
We're going to take it way back. My dad's side of the family are crippled with obesity. So growing up, it was always kind of like a running joke of, oh, are you going to take after your dad? And there was no badness in it, but when you're growing up, that kind of puts this little nugget in your head and kind of gives you this fear of food to an extent. Now, I was never big as a kid or as a teenager. It only really hit me in my late 20s when I really started to put on weight. And I was at my grandmother's funeral, and my uncle looked at me and he said, Jesus, Paul, you're after putting on some amount of weight. I made a joke, like we had literally just buried my grandmother. And I think it was at that moment where I was like, I've gone too far. Because up until then, I thought nobody else had noticed that I had put on so much weight. And that comment made it real. And then that's when I started to look at the likes of medications. I tried Saxenda, was not a fan. This was a couple of years ago. The daily injections, the side effects just didn't work for me. Wasn't really sustainable. I might have lost maybe a stone and a half. And then probably after two months, the weight just came back on, and I didn't learn any healthy habits. I didn't have anything that I gained from that. So I just continued to pile on weight. And then it was only just over a year ago when Mounjaro really came on the market here in Ireland that I said, if I don't try this now, because I've tried everything else, I have an exercise bike in my bedroom that I would have went on like every day. Beforehand, I tried to eat less than the typical eat less, move more thing. Doesn't work for me. Just doesn't. I tried the Mounjaro, and it was like someone just flicked a switch and that noise went off in my head. And all of a sudden, I was like, this is how other people, like normal people who don't have this issue or condition, feel. And that was really the moment when everything changed for me.
Yeah. How quickly did that switch flick for you that you suddenly
Very quick.
went? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like, are we talking?
I'm talking like probably that week. Like it was extremely quick. And like you'll know yourself, you'll hear from people who will say, oh, I didn't feel or hear anything until like 2 months down the line. Why am I not getting this instant change in my body or my brain? But we're all so different. So just don't compare other people's journeys or stories when you're starting out.
That's so true. Because like me, it was one day, I took mine in the evening at about 8 o'clock. The next day I was like, what's going on? I have
Yeah.
noticed this already. It was that quick for me. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever had a more effective kind of few weeks than the first few weeks on the lowest dose. There was just something about that. But it's amazing. This medication works so differently for people. And it's like I talk
Yeah.
about that, but to say, but if you don't get that, that's okay. And in a way, it's nearly not a bad thing because it's going to come down the line,
Oh, well, eventually is going to hit you.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it doesn't hit you on the 2.5, maybe that's not your dose. And for a lot of people, it isn't. It's just a loading dose. But it is eventually going to get to a point where you're like, that switch has been flicked and you're going to have that.
Yeah.
I feel normal.
It's kind of hard to explain to people who haven't had that, like even explaining food noise, but just to have that freedom of every thought. Because I used to be, I'm not sure if you're the same, but I used to be, I would eat well Monday to Thursday, but in my mind, the entire time I'm eating well, just do Monday to Thursday and then Friday, and I'd be planning out what I was going to eat. I mean, and that,
Planning the binge.
yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah, so it was the same for you. Yeah.
It would be the same. It would be Monday to Thursday, or Monday to Friday, whatever. You'd be in work, you come home, you'd cook for yourself and whoever else is there, grand. And then Friday night, you'd be like, oh, we'll get Chinese. Okay, cool, we'll have the Chinese. And then, oh, I'll have a packet of crisps. I'll have another packet of crisps. I'll have a bag of jellies. And it was just, this never stopped. Physically, obviously, would be full, but my brain would be like, no, you're not. They would never sink until the medication came into play. And then that's when it was like, no, you're full now and you don't need to eat anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest moment was, I remember I was probably about 2 or maybe 3 weeks into Mounjaro, and I went to the cinema, and I enjoy going to cinema, but I probably more so enjoy getting the large box of popcorn with a bag of minstrels and a large Coke.
Yeah.
That is, I just look forward to it. So I went to cinema and I still bought my large popcorn. I didn't buy the sweets now, to be fair, but I bought the large popcorn and started watching the movie. And I got about halfway through it. I can't eat anymore, but I don't want to eat anymore.
Yeah.
This has been really enjoyable. I've loved my popcorn, but I'm going to place half a bucket of popcorn beside me and just carry on watching the movie.
And not think about it.
Yeah.
And not be like, that's still there. Why am I not reaching for this? It's not a second thought anymore. It's done.
Yeah.
And you could enjoy the film.
Yeah. 100%. But it is hard to explain that to somebody who does that naturally, Yeah,
100%. My husband would be like that. He could very much like open like a bar of dark chocolate and he'll have a square a day. A square. And he'll put it back in the bar if I had a bar of chocolate in the press, it doesn't go in the press.
I was
It would
just
be
about to
taken out
say.
of the bag, and I'm on the couch and I've ate that bar, or I have to replace that bar because I'll feel like he'll know that was in the press, and if it's not there in the morning, he'll know I've ate it, and I'll have to replace it. I've
Mhm.
replaced so many bars of chocolate, or bags of crisps, or tubs of Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, needle,
Yeah.
but it's all done with now, which is the dream.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Did you, another thing which people will always talk about, is probably the thing you get asked most about, I'm sure, is the side effects.
Hmm.
How were you with those? Did you have any negative side effects throughout the journey or at any stages?
I think at the start, 2.5, no side effects. Really, really lucky. Zero side effects. 5 milligram was the same, no issue. I think it was when I went up to 7.5, that's when I got sulfur burps for the first time. And I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. So I spoke to a pharmacist about this, and they said to drink peppermint tea and to really look at what I was eating at the time, because my digestion had slowed down and whatever I was eating had started to ferment in my stomach. So they said, look, drop back down to 5, drink your peppermint tea, and just give your body the time to adjust to the medication, because you've obviously just went up too fast. And I did that. I went back down to 5 for another 2 months. And then when I went back up to 7.5, plain sailing. And I never really had any side effects since.
That's really
What
interesting,
about
actually.
yourself?
I have been so lucky. I've not experienced one sulfur burp. The only,
Lucky you.
yeah, I mean, like, is it, are they really bad? Are they?
They're really bad. It's horrible. It's like, someone microwaves eggs.
Yeah, in your
Yeah,
mouth.
imagine that just in your mouth all the time, and then it just fills a room. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
not enjoyable.
No, I thankfully no. I have never. The only negative thing that I get, and it's really mild, is heartburn. Kind of at night time where I'll just have two Rennie, maybe every second night or third night.
Yeah,
I might
yeah.
have a couple of Rennie. That has been it. Not one other negative part, and that's included when I was going up. Now spoke with. I actually went up every single month. I went
You did.
by, again, looking back now, kind of went, I wish maybe I should have gone slower. But then again, my actually, I will touch on this now, but my aim is to come off this medication. I'm not, that's not in concrete, but that is my thought about it, for a few reasons, the money being one.
Yeah.
So I was just like, use it, get the most out of it. But as it goes on, we're kind of going, no, well, hon, there's no rush to come off this. I want to make sure I have things in place. But on each jump up each month, I never got the side effects. Again, it
Nothing at
just,
all.
nothing.
Not even some nausea.
Never. Like, never once have I felt nauseous. I said it's
Wow,
that.
you're one in a million.
Yeah, like and like I'm on 15 milligram now. Like, I'm in my 8th month on it, so I've been on 15 milligrams now. Was it 3 months or whatever? Like, whatever way it works out, because I moved up each month.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but no, I said it's purely that little bit of heartburn. So yeah, no, and I have been lucky. I have been lucky with it. Well, that leads me into your long-term plan, because you started on Mounjaro, but I know you made the switch to Wegovy. Could you maybe explain to us the reasons why you moved to Wegovy and how that transition has been? And then, do you have a long-term plan yet?
Okay, so I switched to Wegovy in the middle of September, and it was because of the price hikes. It just got so expensive to access Manjaro. And I thankfully had done so much of the heavy lifting from January to September that I felt I was just on the cusp of maintenance. So I switched over to Wegovy, and I gave myself 1 week break in between the two medications. I had a little bit of nausea when I started Wegovy, just because I obviously had Mounjaro still in my system, and yeah, have been on it ever since. So I'm what was that? Just over 4.5 months. It helped me break a plateau. But what I will say is, for me, I have such a sweet tooth on it, and there's a lot more noise in my head compared to the likes of Mounjaro. So as I said, it does what it says on the tin, but I have decided that I am switching back to Manjaro for maintenance.
Okay.
Fantastic medicine, but I think for those who have been on Manjaro before, they're going to feel the difference. between the two. This one doesn't do as much for the food noise for me anyway. I've heard of people having great success on it, and I didn't gain any long-term weight. I definitely had fluctuations on the scale over the first few weeks, which is to be expected. But after that, everything settled, and I went straight back to losing. It pushed me into maintenance, where I am now. But just in terms of the food noise and the noise in general in my head from Wegovy, I've made the decision to switch back. So I have a 2.5 Mounjaro sitting in the fridge waiting for, I think I have 2 more weeks before I can start that because there's quite a longer washout period for this. But yeah, I'm switching back after 4.5 months.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder, because people are getting in touch with me, and I've said, look, I would possibly look. Now, this for somebody who hasn't used a weight loss medication before. Try Wegovy first, because I think, like you said, I think if you go from one Mounjaro to Wegovy,
Hmm.
you might maybe see what you're missing or something. But Wegovy is an effective medication, like it definitely is. So I wonder,
Absolutely. It's Ozempic, basically.
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same active ingredients, just at a higher dose. And actually, Wegovy has now been licensed for 7.2 milligrams, which is 3 times the current highest dose. It's a huge jump. So I'm assuming for other people, if they went on to that level of the medication, that could have fantastic results for people. But just for me in general, it was just the noise and the sweet tooth that I just said. If I was to stay on this long term, is there a chance that I would start to gain weight? Possibly, because I definitely found myself eating a lot more. And look, obviously, you need to eat, but I knew I was getting to a point where I was thinking about, oh, is there jellies in the press again? And that's where I was like, right, well, this isn't effective for me. So I just knew it was time to switch back. I gave myself enough time. I felt like 4.5 months was enough time for my body to adapt and to see if it would work for me. But just long term, I just didn't think it was an option.
yeah. Look, fair play to you for giving that amount of time, because you do hear from people who kind of give it a week or 2 weeks, and it's like, no, 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 you like it's a new
Yeah,
medication, you got to give it time. Yeah, because again, for me, as I mentioned, I do plan to come off Mounjaro, but that's where I was kind of looking at maybe, switching to that for maintenance. It's kind of an unknown, really, isn't it? And I
yeah,
like that, but it's exciting to hear the developments, though, of what's down the line, what's coming.
yeah,
The fact that it won't have to be kept in the fridge, maybe that it's a tablet eventually that you can take.
yeah.
All these developments, or maybe only once a month you have to
A
take it,
month.
or
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's exciting where it's going. My plan was always to come off it. Now I'm kind of, the more, I suppose maybe I'm getting closer to that. I'm kind of going, well, maybe I won't
yeah,
come
yeah,
off it.
absolutely.
So like, is your plan then long term on Manjaro
Forever and
forever
ever
and ever?
and ever. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be Mounjaro. I've always said that there will always be some sort of a GLP-1 medication in the fridge or the press, whenever comes down the line, whether it's a once daily tablet or a once monthly injection, there will be something like that by my side, just because it's improved my quality of life and my mental health drastically, that I'm happy to pay that bill every month. For the benefits. I can't complain. It's
Yeah.
it's absolutely one of the best things I've ever done. And if I didn't do it now, I think the fear was, like, where would I be in 5 years' time? Would I be another 5 stone heavier? And the complications that would bring to my health. So I was like, no, just bite the bullet, do it now.
Mm.
Yeah, best thing I've ever done.
But I know these medications aren't new, but in
No.
some way they are, in that the masses are having them. Like there's a lot of people having them, so that's kind of new. And what I think is kind of at a new stage is people coming to the stage of their journeys now where they've reached their target, their goals, maybe things they thought they'd never achieve. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought I would never ever get to this weight, and I started 16 years ago. I set up a Facebook page documenting my weight loss, and I've been going for 16 years, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
But did I ever think I'd get to here? No, I didn't.
Did you
So
ever think it would be this sustainable either?
yeah, and enjoyable, as in I've
Yeah.
enjoyed the process. There's been no, oh, that was a tough week. Like, it's an enjoyable process, and again, that's part of it, isn't it? That it's
And you look
enjoyable.
forward to, this is another thing. I think people think there's this misconception that, like, you don't eat food, or like you eat like a pea-sized amount of food. No, I look forward to all of my meals. I
Mm.
still have breakfast, I still have lunch, I still have dinner. And if I want to have a sweet treat afterwards, I will have it, but I don't have it to the extent I had before. And I think that's something I want to kind of shake into people. It's like you're going to enjoy these foods so much more, but just in smaller portions.
See, I'm in the gym a lot, and I'm like, I enjoy that kind of physical activity and stuff. But like, I'm still, my calories, like, 'cause I track them, are about 2,600 a day, and
Right.
I've lost, which is maybe people go like that's a lot, but it's, again, like I'm a big guy, I move a lot, I'm in the gym, but I mean, I've lost huge amounts of weight, never going below that. I mean, at the start, for the first 4 months, I was at around 2,800, and I was still dropping like a stone a
Yeah.
month. So it like that, people think you're going to be eating nothing, and that's, yeah, it's absolutely not true. And what you just said is also really true. I enjoy my food more now, especially, I mean, if you want to call it a treat or whatever, but like on a Saturday night now, I do kind of sit down and be watching a movie, and I will have some chocolate, but I actually enjoy
Yeah.
the chocolate. The Saturdays before this, I would have a,
Inhaled.
yeah. And I'd start to feel sick, but it's like, oh no, Saturday night, gotta keep on eating it because I'll be eating
Yeah.
good on Monday. So it's just like, you do enjoy food more. So again, you're so right to say that. People get that massively wrong. Yeah.
100%. What are you at now, weight loss wise?
I'm 11 stone, 6 pounds down.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Sorry to curse.
No, that's okay. It's no problem cursing. From my time on Mounjaro, I've lost 6 stone. So it's kind of
That's
nearly
you.
kind of half and half. I said, I mean, I had lost weight before, but I've always either been losing weight or putting on weight, and that's it. Now I'm still knocking away a few pounds because I want to lose the total of 12 stones. So I've
So
8 pounds to go. But if that takes me 8 months, then that's perfect for me. I'm going really slow. So basically at maintenance, but just knocking it down a tiny bit.
yeah.
Uh,
But you are also living in the gym. Like I see your stories that you're in there 6 o'clock, like nearly every morning.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you're obviously, as much as like the weight loss is dropping, like you're obviously gaining a savage amount of muscle.
This is where Mounjaro is no different to any other plant. If you go into starvation mode and eating nothing and doing no training and eating low protein, doesn't matter if it's Mounjaro or not, you will lose a lot
Yeah.
of muscle mass.
100%. You're going to lose lean mass. You're going to lose fat mass. Your body's just going to eat away at whatever's there, regardless of what way you're doing it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and it's one thing I definitely need to really incorporate is the likes of weight training because at the
Mm,
moment, or especially for the first, I'd say, up until I think October, I would have been on my exercise bike like every single day, had my headphones in, had my Apple Fitness, and I was just in the zone. And then as soon as the dark evenings came and the rain, I was like, oh, I can't, I just have no energy to do this. And it's
mm,
something I need to try and snap myself out of because I'm like, Paul, you can't just get into the habit of not going on your bike or not having some sort of physical exercise. So my husband is like, no, we're going for a walk now. And you have no excuse. We're going.
yeah,
So I'm thankful I have him for that as well.
yeah.
But I've been just putting it on the long finger because of the weather. But then I see
Mm.
the likes of you, and you're like, you're at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, how does he do this?
Whilst it's really important, I think, to exercise, for trying to keep the muscle mass, but for me, it's the mental health as well. Like, I feel great after exercise. I'm sure you're the same after you get off that bike, that you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel great when I'm starting to do it, but halfway through it, and then afterwards, you're just like, it's like this, all the stress in the world or all the stress you had in your body is then gone. And you're
Mm.
like, oh, I've done that now for the day. I've put in the 30 or the 40 minutes. Um, and now I can relax. So yeah, I definitely need to give myself a little kick.
I was going to jump into something quickly here. You share your journey online. What made you decide to do that? And has there been negatives to doing that? And has there been positives?
I think one of the reasons I decided to do I suppose TikTok, because that's where I share a lot of my content, is there wasn't a lot of Irish people or Irish creators. Loads in the UK, obviously because Manjaro was available there first. And I just wanted to show people that, you're able to make a change with these medications. I was trying to show the ups, the downs, everything in between. Um, have I received any negative kind of feedback? I suppose the odd troll comment here and there, the eat less, move more brigades. But other than that, I a lot of it is positive. A lot of people asking about how do I do this? Like, what was your experience like? The typical questions, side effects,
Mm.
where do I get it from? Then there's also people who are like, oh, I'm going to buy this off this link. And I'm like, no, like, do not be buying like research peptides from somebody online. I'm like, no, you need to buy these medications from your GP or registered provider, not off a random link of somebody selling retatrutide and like,
Yeah,
no, like
yeah, yeah. You're
don't be doing that.
injecting this.
So
Yeah, you're injecting this into your body.
yeah,
You know, this is.
so trying to explain to people the difference between getting, like, you can get these medications online through registered providers, totally fine. Don't buy them from TikTok. Do not buy these types of medications on TikTok. It's too dangerous. So I suppose raising awareness for that as well was a huge thing, because there's horror stories of people out there. You could be lucky, you could be injecting water, or you could be injecting something like insulin. It could be drastic for your health. So I think, yeah, sharing my story was great. And yeah, just raising awareness for the likes of those dangerous peptides people like to share online. Do you know there's one thing that I experienced recently and I completely forgot about it, and it was probably about, I want to say maybe the start of December or maybe the end of November. I binged, and I don't know if it was emotional or I genuinely just was starving. I cannot remember. I don't know what I ate. I ate an obscene amount of food. I was watching a film and it was late at night and I woke up the next day. And do you remember a food hangover that you've ate
Mm,
so much crap the night before and you wake up so ill and sick? It's the first time I experienced that in a year.
mm,
And I was just like, I used to do this every week and I would always feel like this. And I didn't care because I would just
mm,
think about eating more food and eating more bad food
yeah.
and silly amounts of it. It was a shock to the system. I couldn't believe I forgot how that felt.
You're so right. You know, that isn't even, I haven't even thought of that. It is because like that on a Friday and Saturday, on a Sunday, I would in the past would have had so much. You'd wake up the next morning and just, yeah, it is food hungover. You're so right. I never even thought of it like that. Because I've had one night like you mentioned, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. I actually ended up getting sick.
No.
It was over Christmas. I was here and just there was just food around, and I went, you know what? I'm gonna have a full tub of ice cream.
Yeah.
There's a tin of roses there. I'm gonna have it. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of a bit hungry, but that's not why I'm eating it. I'm just gonna have it.
I'm just gonna
And
enjoy these because they're here.
yeah, and then it's hit me. I'm not enjoying these. I'm now not even though I'm having loads of it, I'm now not enjoying this experience. And then I
Mm.
started to feel this is my only time that, I mentioned I didn't have any side effects or anything. This is the one time in the entire journey that I felt nauseous and sick, but I actually physically got sick. I couldn't keep
Oh,
it in me.
no.
Yeah. And that was just like, I'm kind of glad I had it because it was like, but yeah, that was not worth that,
No,
so
absolutely not.
yeah.
And I think that touches on the fact that, these medications, they're not magic wands, they're a tool.
Mm,
And they probably need to be used alongside the likes of therapy to
mm,
be able to understand why we have these moments, whether it's emotional eating or something else that's deep down in your brain. So yeah, I think those things need to be worked on alongside these medications. They're great, but they're not going to give you six pack abs and change the way you think long term. I think therapy is something that we all should probably, those of us I suppose that have these kind of issues
mm.
should look into alongside the medication.
Definitely, I said I've done 3 sessions now with a psychotherapist, purely looking at why I've struggled with my weight all my life. And I've already found it massively beneficial. And I think it's like there's loads of different, you go to trainers and nutritionists and everything. The mental health is, especially around someone who's been obese or just maybe got to that stage, but just where weight is constantly a problem.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason. There has to, well, maybe not for everybody, but I probably think there is. But there's,
I think everyone should go to therapy at least once in their life.
yeah, yeah, it should be mandatory. Yeah, shouldn't it be? Yeah.
A
The
hundred
government,
percent.
yeah, government supplies you one session and then you see if you want more. Yeah.
And it's something that I've absolutely, I suppose, touched on in my own therapy sessions. I went to therapy for quite a while last year and the year before. And one thing I was dealing with before I started Mounjaro was like my self-esteem or my self-worth. And I tied that to being obese, uh, and like hating my reflection and stuff like that. And I thought, well, when you lose the weight, you're going to feel fine. And it was only recently where I was like, okay, you've now lost the weight. I feel the exact same. So it wasn't linked to the weight. As much as I don't fear my reflection now and I have no fear of being in a group photo or anything like that, that's great. But I still feel the same as I did like maybe 5 stone ago.
Okay.
So that's where I think the therapy really needs to come into play.
Mm.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how deep we dig and find the root cause for these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Time
again,
will
like,
tell.
yeah, like Mounjaro, I suppose it's like most, like, say, pain medication or whatever. Like, it masks it. Pain
Yeah,
medication isn't fixing your pain; it's masking it.
no,
This isn't fixing your relationship with food. It's maybe giving you an opportunity to do that.
and to yeah, learn the healthy habits
Mm.
and to give me the opportunity to go and speak to someone and go on the bike and learn that food is for enjoyment, but also it's fuel, and I don't need to have fuel for 10 people. I just need fuel for me.
Yeah, it's go by looking at it for sure. Yeah, look, I think anybody's listening will have no doubt that we both are in favor of weight loss medications. We both are delighted we started them. We're happy to chat about them. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, which is
absolutely.
the aim. Because again, I think people just need to see two real people just having a chat about how they've benefited our lives. Yeah.
I think one of the things I noticed was it helped me quit smoking. I'm nearly a year off. I think I'm like 20 days away from being 1 year off smoking,
Uh,
and I think it's definitely down to the job.
that is fair play to you. That is
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
yeah,
You know what?
one of the
I didn't even realize that. Like, to be doing the weight and kept the weight off and been giving up cigarettes. I mean, that is
Yeah, because it's
incredible.
usually like if you smoke, you're not eating, but when you give up smoking, you want to eat everything. Yeah, no, I absolutely think it helped me quit smoking. I've given up a couple of times for like a couple of months here and there. It's the longest I've ever been off it, and I'm 100% putting it down to the medication. But again,
Amazing.
because it does something with your
Mm.
the reward center in your brain. So yeah, I think 20 odd days, and then I'm a year off
Wow.
smoking. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Was that that's a huge thing for your health,
Yeah.
especially for an asthmatic, because I shouldn't be smoking anyway. But
Yeah. Well, I was saying, no,
yeah,
because this day last week, it was my 15th year off cigarettes.
wow,
I got on the plane from Thailand 15 years ago. Right, I'm not smoking again, and it was a horrible experience coming off them. I hated it. I would
yeah,
never, but it was so horrible that I was like, I'm not putting myself through that again.
horrific.
Yeah, but yeah, God, it's such a good thing to do, though. That's amazing. I didn't know
And
that.
not even on a night out, not a drag off a
I've
cigarette,
not had a
straight.
drag of a cigarette. Like, it's the same for you, is it? Like, nothing. You've just been
Yeah,
off them.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing at all.
Paul, I have absolutely loved this chat. It's been brilliant. I mean, it's just an easy chat. We could chat all night.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, again, we've gone way longer than I expected. So thank you for being here.
Sorry, Mark. I'm very sorry about that.
Don't be sad. No, I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. No, it was a good sign. It's a good sign that it's an interesting chat, and it's an important chat. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. Anyone who wants to follow Paul's journey, I don't presume you know your TikTok handle there off by heart by any chance.
I think it's Paul underscore GLP1. Maybe. Don't quote me on that.
It will be in the description of the podcast because it's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon and Audible. So whichever one you're listening to it on,
Everywhere.
yes, everywhere, it will be in the description. Go give Paul a follow. So Paul, really appreciate it. I've loved the chat. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark. You're very good.
Finally, this week, I want to talk about a video I watched from Dr. Richie Kirwan on Instagram because honestly, it caught me off guard. I'm going to play the audio from the video now. It's just over 2 minutes long. And once that's finished, I'm going to give you my take on what Dr. Richie Kirwan was talking about. This is really interesting.
I'm going to teach you more about ultra processed foods that all the influencers want you to know. So, this is a triple chocolate cookie wedge from a random supermarket in the UK. It doesn't really matter. It has 400 calories per serving, just a little bit more than that. And it is an ultra processed food. What does that exactly mean? First thing to know about ultra-processed foods is it's a categorization that has nothing to do with nutrition. It's all about how the food is made. And what makes an ultra-processed food different is that it's usually made in an industrial facility, so it's not made at home, and it uses some ingredients that you wouldn't normally find in a normal kitchen. In this case, things like emulsifiers, preservatives, thickeners, things like that. Now, here's the thing. If I wanted, I could make something very, very similar to this at home. I wouldn't be using the preservatives, I wouldn't be using a lot of the industrial ingredients, but I could make something that is virtually identical to this, especially in terms of its nutritional value. That means that it would be equally high in calories, it would be equally high in fat, equally high in sugar. It would be completely homemade, and it would have no different health effects from this ultra-processed food. The thing is, a lot of influencers at the moment say that UPFs are bad because of the ingredients that they contain, because they're not things that we have when we're cooking at home. That's not the case. Here's the thing. If you eat this regularly, you're probably going to be getting too many calories, too much sugar, too much fat, and that is what's going to cause the health problems. It's not the additives, it's the fact that this is very delicious, very, very easy to overeat, has no satiety value, so you're going to feel hungry later on, and you can eat loads and loads and loads of them very, very easily. On top of that, it's super cheap. That is what makes ultra-processed foods problematic. It's not because they have certain ingredients that we can't find in the home, it is because they are easy to overeat. So if you make a non-ultra processed version of this at home, it is going to have the exact same health effects if you eat too much of it. On the other hand, if you eat it once in a while, just like you should do with something like this, it's not going to be a problem.
I think that was an absolutely brilliant video, and an important one. There is so much fear mongering around food. So many people going into supermarkets and going, "Oh, look at this ingredient and that ingredient," and a lot of it is just nonsense. It's just clickbait. It's for views, and in the real world, it makes no difference to me and you. And this video is exactly what we need to hear. Don't fear having a slice of cake you bought in the supermarket. And I went in expecting the usual take on this video, you know, the one where ultra processed food is the enemy, it's the reason everyone's overweight, and if you just cut it out, everything will be fine. But that's not what he said at all. What he actually did was challenge the idea that processing itself is the problem. Because when you think about it, loads of food is processed in some way. Cooking, freezing, blending, even fortifying food is processing. And a lot of that makes food safer, more accessible, and easier to fit into real life. The point he made that really landed with me was that context matters more than labels. Ultra-processed food tends to be cheap, convenient, and easy to overeat. But that doesn't make it automatically bad in every situation. It becomes an issue depending on how often you're eating it, how much of it, and what else is going on in your life. And once I had to think about what he was saying, it made complete sense. Ultra-processed food isn't good or evil, it's part of the environment we live in. And pretending it's the only problem keeps people stuck blaming themselves. And I think that's the thread running throughout this whole episode, where it's weight loss, medication, food choices, or body size. Shame has never been the solution. So if you take one thing from today, let it be this: you don't need to punish yourself to improve your health. Understanding the bigger picture is far more powerful than blaming one food, one tool, or yourself. And this all kind of blends into my, I suppose, previous talking about being on a diet that is like 100% strict, really good, healthy food, or the exact opposite. And I love the take here is like, have some cake. You know, there's no problem. This is not going to cause you harm. It doesn't matter how processed it is, if you eat it in moderation. If you eat too much of this, then that becomes the problem. And the problem, I suppose, you have to watch out for is cake is tasty. You can keep on eating it because it doesn't really fill you up. And generally, it's a cheap food. So they're all factors you have to keep an eye out on. But if you can manage just to have the odd little bit of cake, do not fear it. Because so many accounts that you will see online are people going to supermarkets and picking up whatever pack and going, oh my God, look at that ingredient and this one. And we all know them. And look, some of the information they do is good. but a lot of it's nonsense, and it's doing it for one reason, to get views and clicks. And I think people are starting to realize that. Yes, there can be a benefit, of course, to look at maybe good food alternatives, but not to demonize food. That is damaging, and it is happening all the time. And we know some of the big accounts, they will pick up, it doesn't matter what it is. I remember seeing something about broccoli and just, oh, come on, give us a break. It's broccoli. Eat the broccoli. Don't fear the broccoli. And then you'll start people going, oh, well, maybe I won't have the broccoli because, oh, didn't somebody say there's something wrong with it? I have no idea what they're talking about. Well, of course you don't, because it was nonsense. And I just think this video is kind of tying into that. That don't let people fearmonger you into eating only ultra clean foods, when ultra processed foods from time to time will cause you no harm. And I think it's important to hear that. And I think the more and more we understand that, the more likely we are just to eat in moderation and have a good, healthy diet. It's a good way to finish up today's episode. There's been so much in it. It's been every single segment of today I've really enjoyed, found really interesting. And I said Paul was a super guest. So thank you as always for being here. We will be back again soon. Thank you. Have a great week, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers. Bye.